Welcome to the deep dive. We're really getting into some fascinating source material today. It's quite intense, actually.
hmm
We're looking at notes detailing the final days of the Venusians, an advanced civilization facing total planetary collapse.
Yeah, and this deep dive, it's a bit different. We're not just tracking, an environmental catastrophe. It's more about a massive philosophical trauma.
Right.
Our goal here is to sort of understand how this really ancient, complex society deals with this impossible
A
choice
choice between what?
between, well, a dignified, culturally significant death or this salvation offered by these mysterious, city-sized alien ships.
But the salvation comes with a catch, presumably.
A huge unknown cost. That's the core of it.
And we need to remember the setting here. It's brutal. Their planet is dying. The day is getting longer and longer,
Weeks long.
pushing the heat to just unbearable levels.
Mm.
And their ocean, it's literally boiling away into this thing they call the steam wall.
Right, the steam wall. And it's not just like a foggy day. This is dense, superheated steam rolling across the planet.
So like a planetary pressure cooker?
Exactly. It's the backdrop to everything. Every decision, every cultural practice. They're trying to hold on to their identity while, essentially boiling alive. It's grim.
Okay, let's unpack the Venusians themselves. Because the descriptions are,
Yeah,
well, they're quite striking.
they really are.
Multi-limbed, walking on hooves, chitinous skin, up to 5 eyes.
Multiple mouths.
Yeah, very alien. And their whole way of tracking time isn't linear like ours. It's based on these color cycles, red to violet. It affects their whole perception.
And this unique physiology seems tied into their whole approach to death, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it reinforces it. What's really fascinating, I think, is how the inevitability of their end is just woven into their core philosophy.
That phrase, eat, remember, it sounds intense.
It is intense. It's sort of their answer to oblivion.
So what does remembering actually involve? Is it just storytelling? No, it's much more literal and frankly quite harrowing. The sources describe funeral customs where remembering means, well, ingesting specific memory-holding parts of the deceased's brain.
Wow. Okay, so literally consuming memories.
Yes.
Mm.
The idea is that the individual's essence, their memories, become physically part of the living collective. It's how they fight cultural death.
And we see the impact on the humans who get caught up in this, right? Barbara?
Right, Barbara. At one point, she describes the funeral meat as delicious, which is shocking in itself.
And then later, Ian is really struggling. He's absorbed Iniquit's memories, and it's like he's living parts of this other person's life, feeling their pain.
It's a profound burden, yeah, a radical way to try and preserve a culture against total dissolution.
But it splits them, doesn't it, this whole approach?
It does. Splits the species right down the middle. You get these two main philosophical camps. First, the acceptancers.
Like Darkig, the Presidor.
Exactly. Darking is the prime example. He's facing the end with this incredible dignity, even writing his own funeral invitations.
In old purple blood, the notes say. That's quite a detail.
It really is. For acceptancers like him, the only honorable path is courage, maintaining cultural purity right up to the very end.
But then there's the other side.
The desperate ones, the factions who refuse to accept the end, no matter the philosophical cost, they're trying anything.
Right, the anti-acceptancers.
Yeah.
This includes groups like the Rocketeers, the Volcano People.
Below the sun believers, the magnetologists.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
A whole collection of fringe groups.
And the mainstream culture kind of dismisses them, calls them jokesters.
Pretty much. But their efforts, they show this huge, almost absurd paradox in the dying society.
How so?
Well, they have these incredibly advanced concepts, their scientific thinking is still sharp, but the technology they actually build, it's bafflingly primitive. It's like it failed somewhere along the line.
Okay, like the Volcano People.
Yeah.
They have this plan for atmospheric dust injection, right? Using a model the size of a cathedral. That sounds sophisticated.
Hugely sophisticated, conceptually brilliant, injecting dust into orbit to shade the planet, delay the heat. The model itself, this massive globe with pipes and tunnels, intricate planning.
But then, the Rocketeers.
Mm,
Their plan involves rockets made of wood.
exactly, entirely of wood. Ian Chesterton, one of the human characters, he just can't believe it. Beautifully polished, elaborately carved wooden nose cones.
Artistry, but not engineering.
Right. They can still do the art, the complex theory, but basic metallurgy seems beyond them now. And their grand plan, use these wooden rockets to invade Earth.
Invade Earth, seriously.
That's what Ian observes. He finds it utterly unbelievable. It shows the depth of their desperation.
So the scientific dream is still there, massive even, but the actual industrial capacity, the political will to execute, is just gone.
Precisely. And this high-level thinking exists right alongside total societal decay.
Yeah, the notes paint a grim picture there. Squalor, bad sanitation.
Stinking sewage, grinding poverty, yeah. And it's right next door to these elegant ancient buildings and these, intense philosophical recitals.
So the culture holds on, but the infrastructure, the bodies, they're failing.
Exactly. They've kept their minds, in a way, but lost the ability to keep themselves alive or even clean, which, makes the offer of external help incredibly tempting when it finally arrives.
And that arrival is dramatic. The sushi, their ship is immense.
Colossal. Described as being as large as a city or maybe even a mountain range, just this giant rock-like thing appearing in the sky.
And their offer seems almost too good to be true. Complete evacuation.
Total evacuation. But not just anywhere. They offer to take the Venusians 3 billion years into Earth's past.
3 billion. Back to primordial Earth.
That's the offer. And initially, they present themselves as purely benevolent saviors.
How do they appear?
They descend in this huge blue light, looking like winged giant Venusians, sort of playing on their own form.
But the doctor sees through it.
Immediately, he watches this grand entrance and just mutters, theater, pure theater. They talk about the cycle of life, promised sanctuary.
Playing right into that Venusian need for remembrance we talked about.
Exactly. They're leveraging that core fear, turning remembrance into a kind of commodity they can offer.
And this leads to a philosopher, Wright, making a truly terrible decision.
Yeah, Murakami. He's not an acceptancer like Darkig. He's maybe more of a desperate pragmatist. He figures out the truth about the sushi.
That they aren't saviors at all.
No, he realizes they're predators, but he gives them permission anyway. He allows them to take the Venusians.
Why, if he knows they're predators?
Because he believes the aliens will remember us forever. He thinks even a predatory memory is better than none at all. He knows they'll drink our minds, feast on their terror.
Oh, wow.
But he makes that trade. The consciousness of his entire species for this twisted kind of immortality. He chose being remembered, even horribly, over complete oblivion. That's the real horror, the intellectual horror.
He basically sanctioned the mass consumption of his people's fear.
Right.
And meanwhile, the doctor becomes the enemy.
Right. Because of a prophecy. A huyat.
A huyat.
It's this intense communal ritual for seeing the future. A practitioner named Avhayed Kantoje has this devastating vision.
What does he see?
Universal death, catastrophe. But critically, right at the center of it all, he sees a blue box with a white flashing light.
The TARDIS.
Of course. But to the Venusians, in their fear and paranoia, it looks like the source of the destruction, not a potential escape route.
So the doctor suddenly goes from being this outsider, maybe an ally, to being accused of treason.
Exactly. Hauled before the Night Council, the timing couldn't be worse, everything is falling apart, and their potential helper is now seen as the ultimate enemy.
And all this chaos, the environmental collapse, the alien deception, takes a huge toll on the humans, Barbara and Ian.
Massive. Physically and psychologically. We mentioned Barbara absorbing Darkig's memories.
Right, and it starts changing her.
Profoundly. She starts thinking like a Venusian, arguing, using their logic, understanding their complex time cycles based on color. She even feels the physical pain of Venusian characters like Trikobu.
She's almost assimilating.
She is. Which makes her capture later, when she tries to get onto the Saoshi ship, even more horrific. She's literally wrenched out of Trikobu's grip by these aliens.
It shows their true nature underneath the theater.
Absolutely brutal predators. And then there's Ian. His morality gets completely shattered.
How so?
He ends up fighting the death inspectors. These are like armed government agents, their job to kill uneconomic citizens.
Killing the poor and weak to save resources for the elite.
Pretty much. State-sanctioned genocide is policy. Ian has to fight them. And then he has this crisis of conscience.
About lying.
Yeah. He'd been telling the Venusians that Earth was uninhabitable, trying to deter them, protect his own world. But then he realizes they're like the Daleks. They're not invaders in that sense. They're just desperate refugees.
Fleeing certain death. And he lied to them.
Exactly. That weighs heavily on him. It's what pushes him to finally act to help the resistance.
So he signals the volcano people.
Right. He knows stopping the evacuation is their only real chance. He signals them even as the doctor is literally on trial for treason.
It's chaos. The doctor's trying to expose the sushi. He escapes. He sabotages their ship somehow.
With those strange glowing crystals, yeah. Scatters them on the beach near the ship. Multi-dimensional, boundaryless things.
And at the same time, the volcano people, the jokesters, they finally launch their plan.
That long shot plan, yes. They use the chaos of the evacuation as cover and launch their volcanic dust injector. High philosophy meets low-tech resistance in the final moments.
And it works.
It does. The volcanic ejecta, combined with whatever those crystals the doctor left did, it hits the sushi ship, destroys it.
So saved by the volcano, not the aliens.
Saves by geology in a desperate gamble. But the sushi, their end is chilling.
They don't just die.
No, their consciousness gets forced out. It somehow welds itself to the planet's rock. They become dormant, shut down, just waiting to be found by something they could eat.
Waiting. That's ominous.
Very. And while key Venusians survive, Dracobu, Jelenhet, the volcano people, it's a grim, narrow escape. Not really a happy ending. More like staving off oblivion for a bit longer. Hashtag tag outro.
Okay, so if we boil this whole deep dive down, what are the key takeaways? It seems like this incredible paradox, right?
Definitely. You have this highly structured society, almost defined by its philosophical acceptance of death.
You accept
Right. But ultimately, faced with the final choice, a significant part of them, led by Maracacado, chooses this predatory salvation. They choose being remembered, even by monsters, over nothingness.
only to be saved by this weird combination of, well, high-level betrayal by Maracacado giving permission.
And this low-tech, almost ridiculed resistance movement, the volcano people actually pulling off their plan.
It really throws that central dilemma into sharp relief, doesn't it? Maricacado's choice.
It does. Is it truly better to achieve some kind of lasting, even if it's artificial and horrifying remembrance by being consumed, than to face total unrecorded extinction?
Their fear of being forgotten was maybe even stronger than their fear of dying.
It seems that way, more paralyzing than the heat death of their own world.
And connecting this back to the listener, that final fate of the Sauhai offers a really unsettling thought to leave people with.
Right. They didn't just disappear, they fused with the rock. Waiting, patiently waiting for life to evolve again so they could feed.
Which poses a final question for you listening. In a world that's facing its own collapses, maybe the most terrifying danger isn't always the obvious fire right in front of you, but the hidden, patient predator waiting quietly in the ruins for the future to begin. Something to think about.
A deep dive worth remembering indeed.